Morning, ladies. I'm just wondering, who is your new board member? Would you have him stand up?
Oh, well, he's not currently a board member, but he is our nominee.
Nominee?
Patrick Fuchs is our nominee.
Very good. And do you expect a fourth one?
We also have a fourth nominee who is not here today, but they had their confirmation hearing last week, and then we are waiting for one more to be nominated.
Good. Well, it's about time.
Yes. Agreed.
I'm sorry, but there are several questions I have in regard to the status of the law passed in 2015 by the federal courts giving Amtrak preference on time service over freight railroads. How does STB see this issue moving forward?
As you know, the reauthorization, PREA directed FRA and Amtrak to establish metrics. Those metrics would then be used by the board in order to process on-time performance complaints.
Okay, that was 3 years ago.
Yes.
Now, how is it moving?
It's still in court. In the meantime, the board tried to step in and establish our own standards. The Eighth Circuit vacated our attempt last year. So at this point, we have authority, but we don't actually have standards. But again, it's still back in court, and until the court rules, there's
back in court as in appeal.
It was DOT. They're back trying to say that the FRA metrics and Amtrak metrics, that they should not be invalid.
Okay. That same act provided STB with authority to investigate nationally or regionally significant issues on its own initiative rather than on complaint. Do you believe you have staff capacity to initiate such investigations? How do you determine when it is time to launch an investigation?
I do believe we have staff capacity. Of course, we would always benefit from having more employees than we have. I think we are a very fortunate agency in that the Congress and also the administration have provided us a bit of an increase in our funding since the previous years. Hiring people is a lengthy process in the federal government. It's surprisingly how frustrating of a lengthy process it can be. But again, I mean, whatever we need to do, we will do, but we will benefit, and we are trying to hire up. So if you know of any good people, please send them our way.
Well, we need to know that because we're facing an issue where a lot of our agencies are experiencing diminishing capacity to hire people, the qualified people. Other questions are, you talked about, Mr. Carson indicated that grade crossings sometimes is a public problem, and you directed in Public Assistance Office. But I also want to know, to what extent are you involved with the length of the trains and the positive train control?
I'm sorry, what?
Positive train control. Mm-hmm. Length.
And the length of trains, because sometimes the crossings are held up with trains moving back and forth and half an hour, and you have traffic, you have rage, and you have problems because they're not quad gates or the like. I'm a new member on this committee, so I'm digging.
When we had our listening session with CSX last October, one of the witnesses who appeared did told us about his concerns. It was actually a representative of rail labor about the length of trains and how much they are, how they sort of are growing quite a bit, not just with CSX, but other carriers as well. You know, there is a trade-off with the length. You know, longer trains means fewer trains, but as you mentioned, one of the results also could be impacting a crossing that wouldn't have been.
And also, they don't, the receiving end is not capable of receiving that length of a train either.
And that's really more of an FRA issue than it is an STB issue. But yes, certainly, you know, we want a fluid network. We don't want. But we also don't want, you know, it's not just about rail service impact. We don't want them to impact, you know, drivers sitting at crossings. I certainly have.
And positive train control?
You know, positive train control is not our jurisdiction. It is the Federal Railroad's jurisdiction.
Are you involved in it anyway?
Absolutely, because ultimately it's about service.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.